Hey, this is Adam Torres, and I'm here to tell you that it has never been easier to start your very own podcast. At Mission Matters, our goal is to amplify stories that matter. That means we want to help you start your podcast because your story matters. We can do this in 3 different ways. 1, join our podcast school and take a free or paid course. 2, visit our resources page where we've already figured out what you need, such as where to host your podcast. Or 3, heck, we can even do everything for you through our podcast agency, including editing for cheaper than you can do in-house. Oh, and no contracts, service is month to month. Get started by heading over to missionmatters.com and click on Start a Podcast. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Fitness Podcast, your source for all things fitness. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so I have Tarin Calmeyer on the line, and she's founder and chief wellness officer over at Remote Team Wellness. Tarin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, so I'm excited to get into what you're doing over at Remote Team Wellness and how you're helping your clients and also fitness professionals out there. But before we get into that, let's go a little bit further background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
Well, so I have a little bit of a travel passion. So I have a very global background. I was born in South Africa. Then I was raised in Seattle, Washington. I went to university in Los Angeles, moved to Australia for the second part of my university, and then made my way back to South Africa and then around the world from there.
Hold on, so just a little bit of a traveler, just a little. You've been to a place or two, is what I'm hearing.
Basically, just touched a few continents there, and so basically, travel has been a part of my life since forever, and big part of my life has been wellness and movement. So I've danced most of my life. I really was moving and dancing before I could walk. And from there, I got drawn into an osteopathic career, and I thought that I really wanted to be a manual therapist. I was injured, so I couldn't dance anymore, and that led me into my first yoga class, which was actually a blessing for me because it made me realize that there's so much more about the body than just performance and competition. So I got into my career based on kind of a fluke and kind of an accident, but a very happy one. So I did my yoga teacher training, and I decided not to complete my osteopathic degree. So I just continued learning more about movement, human movement, mindfulness, and kind of growing in wellness practices, which has led me to so many different things, from, again, meditation to acupuncture and all kinds of things to help your body to heal naturally and to heal itself. That's a little bit about me.
That's awesome, and I think that's a great transition. So let's just dive right into today's topic. I want to go further into what you're doing over at Remote Team Wellness. So first, tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So Remote Team Wellness is a company that I founded this year in response to what's happening with COVID-19 and the pandemic, but it's not necessarily just for that. I really see this as a shift into our new virtual working world. So Remote Team Wellness is a virtual wellness solution that just helps forward-thinking companies to prioritize the well-being of their employees, regardless of where they choose to work from. So we facilitate regular wellness services and sessions for teams across the world, and that can be anything from movement classes to mindfulness to emotional intelligence training, purpose training to nutrition training. And we also facilitate virtual retreats. So we're really trying to be a one-stop, all-access service for any company that really needs to prioritize their employees' well-being.
Oh, I love it. I think it's a great idea, and I think with your skill set and traveling and just what you've been doing, how you've lived your life, I mean, what a great fit and a great match to help these companies. So I know as you bring on new clients and you work with new companies, like, you know, I feel like obviously every company is going to have different challenges or different opportunities, however we want to word that, but what are some of those common things that you're just seeing like coming up over and over again where you're like, oh, this is going to help a lot of people? Because I'm sure a lot of people are having the same types of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, everyone's just been kind of relegated to having their home space become their everything space, from child rearing to entertainment to everything in between. And I think that is quite stressful for the majority of people who are not used to working from home or working remotely in general. And I think a lot of people are just feeling it's quite a lonely thing to work remotely. So a lot of clients that I'm working with at the moment have expressed that it's isolating to be in an environment where you can't just walk down the hallway or the corridor and go and speak to your coworker. You have to like set up a time. You have to then get onto a streaming service. And I mean, Zoom fatigue is very real. So I think a lot of those factors are really being taken into consideration with how stressful this transition truly is.
Oh my gosh, I love that you said that. Zoom fatigue is real. Like, that's not made up. It's a thing.
It's a thing.
Because I feel like sometimes people and it goes with all these different challenges as we change and society changes in the way that they communicate, like everything like social media, all these other like transitions. And now you add this next complexity of Zoom fatigue. And there's some people listening to this right now that maybe they've never heard the term or they thought it was a joke. Could you go a little bit further into that? Because I feel like there's some people listening right now that own companies and businesses that haven't even considered like what the types of stress that little piece can add to their workforce.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, just to even go back to Zoom fatigue, like how we process information over video, needing to be able to take breaks and visually refocus to allow our brains to have a moment to come back into where we're at instead of being distracted by a million different things on our screen or be pulled away in a million different directions. There are just so many stressors and other factors that I don't even think we can consider everything that has been an impact of this transition. But I think that to be able to be compassionate with your employees wherever you're at in your working cycle, whether you have worked remotely before, you've worked remotely for years, or you're just new to working remotely, having compassion for the people that are working for you to be able to, just have a bite of their lunch on screen or to be able to tend to their kids on screen is a really important thing that I think companies need to start to consider. And I know I've spoken to some companies that really aren't okay with that. And I just encourage them to just be a little bit more aware and again, compassionate to the times, because we're all trying to navigate this together. We're all trying to figure out the way that this works best for us to be able to move forward effectively and make this a long-term and sustainable way to move into a new working world. So I think that compassion is key for sure. Just understanding that everyone's going through and we're all just going to need to just be there for each other and support each other a little bit more in this time.
That's awesome. And for the record, these new, I've been working from home or working remotely for years. My team's all around, they're scattered everywhere from Argentina to New York to, Philippines to all over the place, Texas. But I was like, man, and for some of those people that have worked like that for a long time, all these newbies that are coming to this market, they're stressing me out. It's hard to, when somebody's just getting, I'm like, I'm good with this, but I know it's a new skill set. So that compassion part, when I say that in jest, kinda, but now that when you said that, I'm relating back to mine. I'm like, yeah, they're stressing me out too. I shouldn't even be stressed over this. I've been doing this for years. It's
right.
They're stressing me out. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I can't.
Exactly. We just gotta be a little kinder to ourselves and to each other, and I think that's the one thing to take away from this time for sure.
That's awesome. So that being said, Tarin, if somebody is listening to this and they want more information or they want to connect with you and your team to make sure they're to see if they're a good fit. So two-part question, last question. If they're listening to this and want to connect, number one, what's the right type of company, organization, and or person that's usually a good fit to work with you and your team? Number two, what's the best way for them to follow up and to connect?
Absolutely. So the best kind of company to work with our team are forward-thinking companies that really see their people as the foundation of their business. So companies that want to provide better services and better support structures for their company's culture. And the best way for them to connect with us is to find us on social media. So we're Remote Team Wellness on all the social medias except for Twitter, where we are Remote Team Well. And you can also follow up and find us at our website, remoteteamwellness.com, to schedule an organizational wellness assessment. And for the month of August, since it is National Wellness Month, we are offering free organizational assessments for the businesses that would like to work with us. So we basically go through what your wellness has been like in the past, what your employees are in need of, where you're struggling, where you may need resources or tools, and then we assign world-class wellness providers to be able to teach your employees with live virtual sessions and really just give them the support and the resources and the tools they need. And it's as easy as just making an appointment and showing up to a Zoom meeting on your calendar, instead of having to, go through the process of finding a teacher to teach your employees and finding someone that would know what you're dealing with. We do all the vetting for companies, and then we basically just pair them with the best match for their company.
That's awesome. Well, Tarin, been a pleasure having you on the show today, and thank you for sharing more about what people should be thinking about when it comes to, remote work and wellness. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the iTunes store, and if you're watching this for the first time on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Fitness, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Tarin, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. It's been a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.